What you have to balance, because also you do not want to see people in a bar getting together and getting into a kikundi and borrowing. So you have to do a lot of balances. Remember, this is supposed to change the way people's lives. So that's why we are saying it is better to go the aided way, whereby we are going to the markets and helping you register, because if the process is what is a little bit challenging, because maybe you do not understand the steps and the hoops of how to go about it, it's better to cure the process, as opposed to reducing the numbers, because remember, the numbers were to take care of serious business people.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And according to our understanding, this could be borrowed not only through the USSD number, but also through SACCOs. And this is a way in which, the Hustler Fund is trying to incorporate more financial institutions. First of all, was it a success, incorporating SACCOs into helping people borrow through the Hustler Fund?
Yes, it is. And because you already have vetted people. But remember, again, there is the person who, if you're already banked by a SACCO, most probably you are taking this as an additional capital. So remember, the Hustler Fund still wants to go to the individual. So that's why we are looking at smaller groups. And that's why also training is becoming one of the key things, because we want the shoe shiner who has not been in a cooperative to actually join and be cleaned, so that the SACCO can be able to uplift them. So what we are seeing is that the SACCOs will actually help in terms of increasing the limits by even being able to lend their own money.
Right.
Yeah.
And that would help in incorporating, these financial institutions. And I'm glad that we're in agreement that this number is quite dismal if you compare it to, the personal funds that people usually take, because that is in the hundreds, it's in the billions.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at 163 million. It's quite dismal. Now that we know that this number is not where exactly we're aiming for, one of the incentives is, of course, increasing limits, trying to lure people by saying you can get more money. What other incentives have you put in place?
Actually, you see, first of all, you have to ask yourself, why are you here? So for us, one of the key things is really that thing of people just being put away by the process because the process seems long. So that is what we are curing: communicating, training, and helping them do that. Because you see, you have to be registered by MSEA.
Right.
MSEA is the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Authority. So and then telling them why is it important to be registered under that authority. It is because with that certificate, you can actually do business with anyone. When it comes to government, you will actually get allocated for business from there.
Right.
So one of the things that I think we should do better is communicate and tell people why it is important to go through this process, because it looks long, but it is an advantage at the end of it all, because your business opportunities are more, you are better, you are more formalized, and you're better trained.
Right.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Vikundi, this portion of the Hustler Fund, what would you say is the default rate?
Actually, the default rate at the Vikundi level is much lower compared to, I would say the repayment is almost like 80%, because again of the individual guarantees, and that is what we wanted to ride on. Yeah.
And when it comes to the default rate, having a group of 10 people could prove, a bit difficult for the individuals to ensure that other people within the group do pay. What are the possible consequences for individuals and groups that default?
So you see, for the group that defaults, again, this is a self-checking mechanism. If I'm in a group that has defaulted, I can't even get my personal loan. So we have to make sure. So that's why the default rate at the group level is actually much lower, because we are all pushing you to pay so that we are better. And then remember, you can actually pay for each other. So worst case scenario, I want to borrow from my personal loan, and you have defaulted and in the same group, then people can pay for each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And what is the projection now that, the numbers are quite, dismal, given the next year, so a few months from now, how many more people do you think, how many more Vikundis will we be having, taking up the Hustler Fund? What are your goals?
So our goals are at least to double that 51,000, and again, make sure that as we increase the limits of the groups increase. So on average, maybe get to anything close to 2 billion. That would be what success would look like, at least in the next 3 to 4 months.